tell us. Which at some point you have to work out where you're involved because there are stars mentioned. So when we mention the stars, I'd like you to be the stars. I know we've got stars, but you can be the stars as well. Swap hands, get my better hand here. It was an unremarkable kind of night. A night where the air felt silently still, as if along with the heavens it was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Mary held on tightly to the saddle as the donkey stumbled on loose stone before finding its footing and plodding carefully on, carrying its precious load. Mary didn't want to make a fuss, but her back was beginning to ache. Her tummy felt fuller and heavier than ever before. She forced a smile as Joseph looked round to check that all was okay. He'd been walking for days and never complained once. "Not much longer now," Joseph said reassuringly. Mary nodded and whispered a prayer of thanks to God that this journey would soon be over. When Mary and Joseph had accepted God's gift of a baby, they hadn't expected that the emperor would order a census and they'd be traveling so far, so close to where Mary's baby was due to be born. Joseph led the donkey forward, his eyes fixed on the road ahead, but he allowed his mind to wander behind, thinking about the rocky road and long journey that brought them to this point. "Not much longer now," he murmured to himself again. When he'd first heard that Mary was pregnant, he'd wanted to run in the opposite direction. But then an angel had spoken to him in a dream, telling him to stay, not to be afraid. Joseph knew that this journey had begun long before he and Mary had even met. Long ago, God had spoken through the prophet Isaiah. God had promised a sign. A young, unmarried woman would give birth to a baby boy, and people would call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. Joseph and Mary already knew that the baby inside her would be called Jesus, meaning God saves. Joseph's body straightened at this thought. His steps became stronger and faster. God had promised his people the gift of baby Jesus. All that time ago, the world had been waiting for so long, but not much longer now. The promise was about to be fulfilled. Even the donkey seemed to know that something important was coming as its steps became faster. Mary held on even more tightly. She was tired and uncomfortable, but she knew how precious the baby inside her was. The stars in the night sky glimmered above them. Thank you very much. Not much longer now, Mary reminded herself. And not for the first time, Mary wondered why God had chosen her, a simple Jewish girl, to be the mother of his precious gift. As she watched the stars race by, Mary remembered Abraham. Nearly 2,000 years before, God had promised him that his family would outnumber the stars and be a blessing in the world. It was Mary who was at the other end of that promise, fulfilling that blessing by giving birth to the long-awaited King, the Son of the Most High, Jesus. "I can see Bethlehem," Joseph exclaimed excitedly. "Look, Mary, not much longer now. We're almost there." "Hurry, Joseph," Mary whispered, holding tight to the saddle. "It's Jesus. He's coming." Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I wonder, have you ever felt expectant that something was going to happen? Looking forward to something? Perhaps you've been given a promise. Is anybody looking forward to anything at the moment? What are you looking forward to? Christmas! Yes, what a surprise. Anybody looking forward to anything other than Christmas? Yes? Presents, brilliant. Yes? Presents as well, yes? End of school. Whoop. Yes? Bonus points. Spending time with my family. Yes? Lunch today, 100%. Yes? End of term, yes, absolutely. The England game, is it today? Is it? And what do you expect the score to be? England to win. Yeah, England to win. Any other things that we're looking forward to? Any other thing? No? No, fine, yes? New Year's Day, yes, brilliant. I wonder what sort of feelings expecting stuff gives you. Perhaps excitement or joy. Perhaps some impatience. Maybe a little anxiety. Perhaps it feels daunting because there's often so much to prepare when we're expecting something to happen. So I've got my friend's Christmas list. This is literally her Christmas list. I work with a woman called Lisa. She made her Christmas preparation list. This is her genuine list. I nicked it off of her. Put up the Christmas tree, decorate the cake, wrap the presents, send the Christmas cards. One of these is just watch Christmas movies, I think. But they're still all important preparations. It's a joke, right? We joke about the long list, but it's true. Sometimes preparation takes so much effort. When my wife and I moved into our house several years ago, it needed a lot of work. And my dad, who will feel very awkward being singled out, he's sitting right there if you want to turn your heads and look at him. My dad helped renovate, and by help, what I mean is he did far and away about 99% of the work, and I turned up occasionally to take some credit as well. Unfortunately, we weren't, because of circumstances, able to complete everything before we had to move in, which meant that every single room in the house was done to a high spec, except the bathroom. The bathroom was not finished. It did have a working toilet, you'll be pleased to know, and it did have a bath, so it could legitimately be called a bathroom. But beyond that, it wasn't. There was no proper floor, there was no walls, no shower, no door either. It had a lot of work. And I promised Antonia I would get it done. Don't you worry, darling. I am on it. 4 years later, I finally got round to installing a shower. And of course, by what I mean is my dad did 99% of it, and I turned up right here today to take the credit. A year after that, we finally got round to doing the walls. I did the walls. And of course, by what I mean is I got a plasterer to do it, because it's a skilled job. I'm not getting him to do it, by me. It's a difficult thing to do. And this weekend, not even 48 hours ago, I finally put a door on the bathroom. Privacy at last, yeah. And by I think you all know what I mean. It was my dad who did it. But we've got there. The promise has been fulfilled. Although you've emphasized that the bare wood needs painting, because obviously it's a damp room, we don't want that to happen. And all I can say, Antonia, is I'm on it, I promise. And there's still no floor. Shh. It's on my list. We'll get there eventually. I promise. God promised Abraham 4,000 years ago his family would be as numerous as the stars. Yes, he did. So many hundreds of thousands. And that family of his would be a blessing to the whole world and everyone in it. 2,000 years after that, I do think Mary might well have been sitting on a donkey reflecting on Abraham, on God's promise to Abraham. And 2,000 years later, here we are seeing that promise fruit. All the wonderful, amazing power of God's promises being worked out into the future. It's Advent. a time of year when we look forward to Christmas. And Christmas is, of course, a time when we look back, God's promises being fulfilled in the birth of Jesus. I am looking forward to looking backwards. And I'm really acutely aware that I'm actually quite maybe lucky in that respect, blessed in that respect, because many of us don't always look forward to Christmas. It's a difficult time sometimes. Tricky negotiations, additional spending, tensions, and overwhelming expectations, lots of jobs to do. I'm really aware that there are several Ukrainian families not far from our house that shouldn't really be here. They've been displaced because of violence. And there are other conflicts, of course, all around the globe, displacing people, literally, displacing people emotionally and relationally. And when I think about it, if I'm really, really honest, I don't necessarily look forward to looking backwards. I've heard the nativity story at least 40 times now. Quite a lot more than that, in fact. I don't always look forward to looking backwards. I think what I look forward to is the lights in the darkness, the warmth in the cold, the joy in the worries, the goodwill in the mess, relationships in the loneliness, generosity in the difficulty, singing songs in the awkwardness. I'd really look forward to those things. I love those things. And all of those things actually speak to me about the nature of God and the truth of what heaven is really like. Advent literally means coming. So I guess it makes sense that in Advent we think about the coming of Jesus, but it wasn't the only time that Jesus promised to arrive. After his death and resurrection, Jesus promised to turn up again with his Holy Spirit, and I know many of us have felt that Holy Spirit, have known the Holy Spirit come into our hearts. We sang a song earlier, Joy to the World. Let every heart prepare him room, it says. Advent isn't just a time to prepare for Christmas and think about looking back. It's a time to prepare our hearts and welcome the Spirit back into us and to fill us anew. And of course, Jesus promises to return again to make heaven and earth reconciled and everyone and everything in it looking ahead. Advent is a time to think about Jesus coming, his arrival. Chris as a baby, as the Holy Spirit to us in our lives right now, and again in the future to return and make all things good. I know Christmas is difficult. We have members of our own family, mainly on Antonia's side, that find Christmas very difficult. And those of us that do get to look forward to it, well, God bless you in that joy, and I certainly feel blessed because of it. But those of us who find Christmas, well, a lot of work, or full of difficult reminders, or maybe a bit lonely, I invite you to not so much think about looking forward to the festivities, but think about the ideas behind them, just like Mary did. Because though Christmas can get a bit maybe saccharine and intense, the good things of Christmas, light, warmth, generosity, joy, those ideas are actually real, and they are promised to each one of us. Jesus Christ turned up once, turns up now, and will turn up again to bring all of those things to us and to the whole world. And I am really looking forward to that coming. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Are we having prayers now? Great.
I think we just have to go straight into prayers, Hannah. I don't think we can say anything
I
else.
know.